AAA rating and that basically they're defaulting. The Treasury is by hyperinflation. Also, the nanny state. You know, last week, Chicago School District said no school lunches allowed. Parents, they said, cannot be trusted to pack lunches. All over the country, the Department of Education has shut down tag, dodgeball, kickball, capture the flag, and now even shaking hands or patting on the back. Now New York State, it says school will soon be out. If it's up to New York State Health Department, a lot of city kids might be spending their time indoors. And it's total bureaucracy. They're saying you got to do a management plan, a risk assessment, your chess club, that, 50, 60, 100-year-old camp for kids. You're not going to canoe. It's too dangerous. You're not going to wrestle. You're not going to play baseball. You're prisoners. Sit in the corner, take Prozac, worship world government. And this seems crazy. Bloomberg saying put a tax on salt or arrest people. It's all about breaking your will that you're a total prisoner. While the big mega banks launder $376 billion, as Bloomberg itself reports, and no one gets in trouble. As they launch new wars, as they kill 1 million Iraqis, it's just, you are prisoners. Land of the free, home of the brave. Kids can't climb trees. Got to get rid of jungle gyms. Got to get rid of slides. Somebody could get hurt. The total nanny state is here. But if the police taser people and they die every week from it, they're now announcing they're going to up the power of tasers. So, total tyranny from government, total abuse. But then if you engage in anything that the state says could hurt their cattle, hurt their property, but 300,000+ die from bad drug interactions, thousands conservatively from vaccine interactions. That's fine. And when the government's caught all over the world injecting school kids with syphilis, that's radiating foster children in the U.S., killing 1 million Iraqis. That is wonderful. That is humanitarian. Fukushima, 7.5 million times normal levels of radiation, Associated Press. Monbiot says that's fine, and on the left and on the right. Good old Ann Coulter says the Japanese ought to be thankful. So they're training us to just an unreality of where they give us crazy orders. In the Marine Corps, that's what military training is. The Prussians developed modern military brainwashing, they said, to make mindless people that will follow orders, in their words. Shave the head, sleep deprivation, uniforms, marching. It is a Jim Jones system. And once you've been through it, you feel like you now have first you're torn down, then you're built up. I know you don't want to hear this, but it is what it is. Prussian brainwashing. They would send Hessian slaves all over the world, military slaves, who didn't have to be chained up, who didn't run away, because they were torn down for years as children, built up as warriors, and they would just march right into gunfire like nobody else. And they shipped them over here to have war upon us during the Revolutionary War. And so that's the system. And that's what the schools are. That's what everything is. They'll give you ridiculous orders in the Marine Corps, in the Army. And if you say, sir, why are you giving me a dumb order? In the old days, they'd punch you right in the face or punch you in the stomach. Full Metal Jacket's very accurate. You don't ask me if that's a stupid thing to do. You do what I say. You don't think. We will have the TSA stick their hands down your pants. We will put sodium fluoride in your water. We will not let parents pack lunches for their parents because you're not trusted, maggot. And you will not play dodgeball. You will not play King of the Hill. You will not play kickball. You will not play volleyball. It's dangerous. But if you want to join the paramilitary youth corps, which they now have with the Explorer Scouts, we will train you to take on disgruntled veterans with live firearms. You're not allowed to be rough unless you join us. Then you can rough everybody else up. Dick Russell. My friends, we don't normally cover little green men here on the broadcast, but when it's in the London Guardian, when it's in USA Today, AOL News, headlines, 10 days before JFK was killed in '63, he requested the MJ-12 documents. Now, we know he did write a letter requesting it. We know that part's true. The FBI is now declassifying a lot of this stuff, but we don't know if the MJ-12 is real. But one of the leading JFK researchers is Dick Russell. He's a best-selling author, really needs no introduction, dickrussell.org. And he has co-authored many of Jesse Ventura's latest best-selling books. I think it's his best book yet, 63 documents the government doesn't want you to read. A total page-turner. You want to wake somebody up, this is it. And we're going to walk through the 9/11 stand-down order. We're going to walk through government drug dealing documents. We're going to talk about it all. And one document that I think bears inspection. I don't think it's bad it's in there. I just think it doesn't compare to the rest. The Koch brothers, that George Soros is so obsessed with, meeting with other conservatives to try to organize, a free market system. I don't know why folks are so scared of the Koch brothers, but, I don't like the mainline Republicans that are always warmongering and telling us about the Bill of Rights and Constitution when they love torture and secret arrest. But Obama's continuing all that as well. But I want to get Dick Russell, because he's a studied, hand at history, his view on the incredible. Well, it's incredible because we knew it was coming, and it's incredible because it's so naked and brazen and Orwellian that before the war against Gaddafi began, whether you love him or hate him, the point is he made deals with the West and got double-crossed, just like Mubarak in Egypt, that they're using al-Qaeda against him. That's the core. That's in the L.A. Times yesterday. Again, we told you a month ago. But there's this new system where rebels attack the government in the Ivory Coast with machetes, killing men, women, and children. The French invade, come in, take over the president, throw him out, put him in. Same stuff going on in Egypt. Same stuff going on in Libya. And Obama said, we will never have ground troops, period, there. Even NPR admitted at the time he said that on March 23rd. Of last month, there were already U.S. Special Forces and advisors lasing bombing targets on the ground. And they said, well, that's not combat, to have Special Forces lasing targets for bombs and missiles and cruise missiles. Now, the UN has said, and the EU has said, they're going with a resolution to put more ground troops in who are humanitarian, to organize the cadres and to launch them and to arm them, and that's not military. So bombing's not military. It's kinetic action. Regardless of what you think about this, they lie to you. Here's a clip of Obama specifically the 22nd of March. NPR reported on the 23rd, telling people there will be no ground troops. Now, there were already ground troops there when he said this. The Marines are off the coast. More Marines are coming. It's on. And as our troops fight and die there, I guess just like Vietnam was a secret war from 60 to 64, with just advisors, they're going to say, well, those aren't deaths, those are kinetic actions. So a new level of deception. Here's the clip.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians. That action has now begun. Actions have consequences, and the writ of the international community must be enforced. That is the cause of this coalition. As a part of this effort, the United States will contribute our unique capabilities at the front end of the mission to protect Libyan civilians and enable the enforcement of a no-fly zone that will be led by our international partners. And as I said yesterday, we will not, I repeat, we will not deploy any U.S. troops on the ground.
Okay, at the time, there were U.S. Special Forces and CIA, and now the Marines, even before that, said they're preparing to invade. Dick Russell, is it just me, or is stuff getting more and more obviously deceptive? Why are they so brazen?
Well, it sounds to me like a classic case of doublespeak, and the Libyan situation is a tough one, admittedly. You don't want Gaddafi killing hundreds of thousands of people, which it looked like, according to what the news was showing us anyway, in the beginning was going to happen in the cities that the rebels had taken. But now, we're already involved in we're trying to get out of Iraq, which I'm sure we're not completely. Afghanistan, we're still mired down. If we start sending ground troops into Libya, at a time when the budget deficit is already insane, and the military spending is what's really responsible for so much of this. I just think it's crazy, and we're not being leveled with about it.
That's right. We're hearing no Republicans except for Rand Paul and Ron Paul talk about making cuts to the military when it's $1.1 trillion on budget, $800+ billion supplemental. That's just shy of $2 trillion. And we're hearing nothing about that, nothing about banker bailouts. All we're hearing about is welfare queens. You could send all the welfare queens to Mars, and it wouldn't put a scratch on this debt.
Yeah, I mean it's totally insane what we're being told, and you know, the Republicans won't talk about it because you know they're being funded by these the big banks, and all the people that we've just realized have just been seeing this week are not paying into big huge corporations, not paying any taxes. I mean, you know, with General Electric and ExxonMobil and the Bank of America. I mean, these mega corporations that aren't paying a bit of income tax while the American middle class is being fleeced, and so, you know, it's just wrong.
Wow, you just hit it on the head, and suddenly I'm hearing liberals and conservatives and libertarians get it right. You know, the left was always raise, you know, taxes on the rich, $125,000 or more. That's not the rich. And Republicans were always leave all the rich alone. Finally, I'm hearing Republicans go, wow, there's these offshore corporations that wrote the loopholes, and they get out of almost all the taxes, in some cases all of them. And then it turns out the Federal Reserve and others, they're actually lobbying to raise taxes on the middle class, posing as Obamanoid liberals. And if people just figure out that slightly sophisticated deception, game over.
Yeah, and now, of course, people are starting to be very concerned because what you mentioned briefly earlier, that Standard & Poor's has suddenly, you know, sent the American credit rating, you know, devalued us, and so the stock market's going down. I mean, people are justifiably scared of where this economy is going, and you know, the fact is that the rich are still getting richer, and the big banks that got bailed out are making more money than they ever did. There's a new book out, I haven't read it yet, but on Goldman Sachs that shows, you know, how they basically are one of the big controllers of. I mean, we're being run by these. We're a corporate oligarchy. That's what's happened to us in America.
Absolutely, but the corporate oligarchy is sophisticated. They pose as the left and the right, and they play the blue collar off against the middle class, because a blue collar guy busting his hind end and repairing cars all day, they think of somebody making $1 million as rich, or 100,000 as rich. The truth is, it's that middle class that actually funds the economy, and the true billionaires, to a man, they're almost completely tax exempt. I mean, Warren Buffett admits he pays about 8% in tax. Meanwhile, the CPAs are controlled by the IRS now. It costs $431 billion a year just to pay the CPAs, or roughly 30% of the tax revenue. And it turns out they're kept creatures. So somebody like Jesse Ventura, Dick Russell, Ron Paul, Alex Jones, people who are really middle class or upper middle class, you know, folks like Jesse Ventura, I've talked to Ventura, he's paying something like 40-something%. The real tax rate isn't 35 because they've gotten rid of most of the write-offs.
Yeah. I mean, it's out of whack, completely out of whack. You mentioned the Koch brothers earlier, and you're not too worried about them, Alex, but I am. And you know, the fact is that you wonder who's out there. The Koch brothers, nobody knew anything about them until the New Yorker did this profile almost a year ago now. And here are these guys, some of the richest people in the world, who basically, I mean, they have funded the Tea Party. They have set up these so-called, you know, these nonprofits that are paying scientists to debunk the fact that the climate is changing. You know, I mean, these guys are dangerous, and I'm sure there's a lot more that we have no idea who they are that are really calling the shots.
Well, I'm not saying that the Koch brothers are perfect angels, and I mean, I read the documents in your book that were gotten by a Soros outfit, a Soros website, a Soros-funded site, and it's about liberty and freedom and free market and how do we restore the republic. Sounds great, but then a lot of the speakers that they have there, some of them I like Peter Schiff. It's not like it's even a secret meeting. It's just a private meeting, a conference. Yep. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. But the point is that, sure, you don't hear the Republicans of this group against the torture, most of them the wars. So they like to talk a liberty game, but they're not actually involved in it. But the Koch brothers and their amount of spending compared to George Soros, I mean, are you concerned about George Soros?
You know, I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot of money. I'm more of a liberal Democrat than anything else, and I you know, I mean, not everything Soros does is I haven't followed him that closely, but the Koch brothers worry me. They're far right people that it seems to me are not doing our democracy any good. Well,
tell me about them then. Let's go over some of the documents in the book. Let's start covering the Koch brothers.
Well, the documents that we put in the book for the Koch brothers is basically just the story of this they have this every year, and the one this year I think was in Rancho Mirage, California, was picketed by a lot of people. I mean, they bring together a lot of the rich and powerful, and they talk about their plan to basically let's take over the country. Let's